everyone. So how are you all? I hope you all are keeping well. So once again I have come with the next chapter, that is chemical changes and reactions. So let us talk something about these chemical changes and the reactions. So first let us understand what do we mean by chemical changes and the reactions. Now see what happens. Look, there are so many number of chemicals which are existing into the universe, and when these chemicals they come together, they react with each other. Now when they react with each other, what happens, they bring about certain change in the chemicals which are already pre-existing, and they lead to the formation of new chemical substances after they react with each other. So that is what is called as the chemical changes and the chemical reactions. Let me give you certain examples. So first of all, how do we define a chemical change, or how do we define a chemical reaction? Chemical reaction. Now what does it mean? How do we define it? Now what exactly happens that when these substances they come together? Now the substances which are meeting together, they are also having its own atoms, ions and the molecules. Now there must be some force of attraction between these particles, between these atoms, ions and molecules. So what do? They break up those old bonds, these substances, and they lead to the formation of new bonds. So old bonds are broken and new bonds are being formed. So when these new bonds are being formed and new chemical substances are being formed, or it give rise to the new chemical substances which are called as the products. Let me give you an example. Suppose a substance A, and its molecules are, it is existing in a molecular form. So the substance A, it is two atoms are there together in substance A. So that means what, it is forming a molecule of A2. Then substance B, again two atoms of B are there, so it is forming a molecule of B. Now this A2 and B2, when they come together, so this is one molecule of A2, one molecule of A2. This is also one molecule of B2. Now what happens, this A2 plus B2, when they come together, they will lead to the formation of another type of a substance, that is AB plus AB. Either we can write down AB plus AB, or we can also write it down together as AB plus AB, which is equal to what? 2AB. Either you can directly write down 2AB, or just for you to make you, just for your understanding, I have written it twice. It is AB plus AB. So what happens, this A2, which is a molecule, this is also having, there is some force of attraction between these two atoms. So what will happen, this A and A, it will, and this B and B, we can write down this in this way. So this will lead to the formation of the product, that is 2AB. So what does it do? These old bonds between A and A that has been broken, these old bonds between B and B are also broken, and new bonds are being formed between A and B. So this phenomenon or this process, we call this as the chemical reaction. That means breaking up of old bonds of the reactants and forming of a new bonds in a new compound which is called as the product. This whole process of which is A and B, these substances are going together, that is called as the chemical reaction. So now we get the definition of the chemical reaction, that is process of breaking the chemical bonds, whose bonds are they breaking? These are the reactants, breaking the chemical bonds of the reactants to form new bonds, leading to the formation of products, having new bonds. These products, when the product has been formed, new bonds have been formed. So that is how we define a chemical reaction. So these substances on this side, these are called as the reactants. And these substances, these are called as the products. Or these are also the reactants. That is, both these are the reactants. And these are called as the products. So once again I repeat, what is a chemical reaction? It is a process of breaking the chemical bonds, the old bonds which are present into the reactants, to form new bonds leading to the formation of products. That means new bonds are being formed. And otherwise also, new bonds can be formed only when the old bonds are being broken. So this whole process where the old bonds of the substances are being broken down to form new substances along with new bonds, this whole process we call this as a chemical reaction. So I hope this example will make this idea much more clear. Let me give you a particular example instead of A and B. That is reaction between hydrogen and chlorine, that is H2 plus Cl2, leading to the formation of 2HCl. That is, one molecule of hydrogen reacts with one molecule of chlorine, leading to the formation of two molecules of hydrogen chloride. So what is happening? That is, this hydrogen, it is two hydrogen atoms are there in this, and in this case also two chlorine is there, and here also HCl plus HCl. So what is happening? These bonds are broken, here also these bonds are broken, and new bonds are being formed. That is in this way. Look here, this is one molecule of HCl, and this hydrogen and this chlorine, again they are forming another molecule of HCl. So either you can write down this way, or we can just simply write down 2HCl. So these substances, that is the substances which are on the left hand side of the arrow, these are called as the reactants. And the substances which are on the right hand side of the arrow, these are called as the product. And this whole process, we call this as a chemical reaction. Now when I am talking about the formation of, breaking up of the old bonds on formation of the new chemical bond. So what is actually a bond? What do you mean by a bond? Bond is what? We human beings also, we also have a bond, no? With all our relatives. You students also, you are also having a bonding with your parents. So what exactly is a bond? Chemical bond. That means force which binds together. Which binds together. A chemical force which binds together all the atoms, ions or the molecules, that is called as the chemical bond. In human beings also there is a bonding, and that bonding is what? We all bounded, you people are bounded, we people are bounded with all our family members. So what is that bond? That bond is called as the love. But when it comes to the reactants, different substances, chemical substances reacting together and they are joining up together. So the bond in case of the chemical substances, that is called as the chemical bond. So the force which binds these atoms together, that force is called as the chemical bond. So for any chemical reaction to take place, there are certain factors. Certain factors are there which allows a chemical reaction to take place. Like all these factors are not necessary for all these reactions, but some of the factors are necessary for some of the reactions. So we'll just go through those factors which are responsible for carrying out the chemical reactions. Or the factors or the conditions for chemical reactions to take place. Conditions for chemical reactions. Let's see what are those conditions for chemical reaction. Our first condition is mixing or close contact Now two substances, they react with each other only when they are brought in close contact with each other, or only when they are being mixed together. You just imagine one substance is kept somewhere very far off and another substance has been kept somewhere very far off. Is it possible for those substances to react? No. Two substances are kept far apart from each other. One substance is kept in one room, another substance has been kept in another room. Obviously, when they are not coming together, they are not reacting with each other. So, for substances to react with each other, what happens? They have to be brought together. Same thing happens with we human beings also. We also interact with our friends. We also react with our friends only when we are coming close, only when we talk with them. If one person is in somewhere very far off place, another person is in very far off place, is it possible for them to react? Is it possible for them to fight or to argue with each other? No, it's not possible. No argument, no fight, nothing. So the same thing happens with these substances, the chemical substances also. That is, for the substances to react with each other, they should be brought in close contact with each other, or they should be mixed with each other. So I'll give you an example over here, that is lead nitrate. It reacts with potassium iodide, leading to the formation of PbI2 plus KNO3, that is potassium nitrate. So this will be our, that is 2, this will also be 2, all are 2, and so this is now lead nitrate. This is white in color and this is yellow in color. This is also yellow in color and this is white in color. So this lead nitrate reacts with potassium iodide to form lead iodide and potassium nitrate only when these two are being brought together. If they are very far apart from each other, obviously no reaction will take place, and after the reaction we will find that one substance which is white, another is yellow, and this compound which has been formed, lead iodide, which is in yellow in color, and potassium nitrate which has been which is white in color. So mixing or close contact is very necessary. Next condition required is solution form. That is, the substances, they react with each other when they have been mixed into each other in the solution form. See, certain solid substances, when you mix them, fine, they react. But certain substances, when they are in the solid form, they may not react. So what do? We first have to make we have to convert them into the solution form. How do we convert them into a solution form? We have to make a solution either in water or any other solvent. Now when you are making a solution in water, that solution is called as what? Aqueous solution. Aqueous solution. And if you are using any other liquid besides water, then that is called as the non-aqueous solution. So substances, I'm not saying all the substances, but some of the substances. That is what I told you right in the very beginning, that all these conditions which I am mentioning, all the chemical reactions will not require all these conditions, but they may be requiring one or the two conditions, some of the reactions. So the solutions, they react when they are in the solution form. So let me give you an example, that is sodium chloride. An aqueous solution of this has been made with silver nitrate. This is also an aqueous solution that has been made, leading to the formation of AgCl plus NaNO3. So here what is happening? That is sodium chloride, a solution of sodium chloride is made in water, that is an aqueous solution, and a solution of silver nitrate is made in water, that is also an aqueous solution. So we are writing down in bracket, and it leads to the formation of a white precipitate. So white precipitate, whenever a precipitate has been formed, we represent it with a downward arrow. So a white precipitate of silver chloride is formed along with sodium nitrate. Next condition is what? Heat. Now some of the chemical reactions, they require the presence of heat. They takes place, that is heating is required, or only those reactions will take place only sufficient heat has been provided to them. For example, that is copper carbonate. When we heat it, it will break up into CuO plus CO2. That is, it will break up into black colored copper oxide plus carbon dioxide gas is evolved, that means gas has been given off. Similarly, calcium carbonate. When you are heating calcium carbonate, it will be forming calcium oxide plus carbon dioxide. So heat is a necessary condition for some of the reactions. So for these reactions, the heat is necessary, which other reactions may not require heat, but this particular reaction, these two reactions, they require the presence of heat. So this is the next condition. Okay, let me give you another example of breaking up. That is lead nitrate, PbNO3 the whole twice. When we are heating it, it will be forming PbO plus 4NO2 plus O2. That is oxygen gas will be formed over here. So here this will be 2 PbO. So this will also be becoming 2 PbO. So here this PbO, that is a yellow residue of lead oxide has been formed. And this gas that has been formed is reddish brown gas. Now one thing that let me remind you, this equation, this reaction is very, very important. It is extremely important. It has been asked in the exam several times and has been asked as it can be asked as an observation based question. Like for example, what happens when lead nitrate is heated? The question may not be asked to you directly, but it may be asked as indirectly. What happens when lead nitrate is heated? So when lead nitrate is heated, now such type of questions, which is what do you observe, or write down your observation for a particular reaction, you are supposed to write down only what you observe, what you sense, what you smell. If you get any sound, if any sound has been heard, like in certain reaction, like decrepitation sound is heard or a hissing sound is heard. Decrepitation means the crackling sound is heard. So all those things, or if there is any change in the color, all those things you have to mention in the observation based questions. In such a type of questions, we don't need this equation. If you write down the equation, you will not be getting any marks, you will be getting marks only for the observation. Like for example, lead nitrate which is heated, so what is the observation? Observation is that a yellow residue has been formed. Along with the yellow residue, a reddish brown gas has been evolved and a colorless gas that has been evolved, a colorless gas has been given out. And when any gases that has been formed, what do we have to do? We have to mention the test for those gases. Like for example, oxygen gas that has been evolved. And what is the test for oxygen? That is a colorless gas has been evolved. When this gas has been passed through pyrogalol solution, the pyrogalol solution turns to brown. I repeat once again, the test for oxygen gas. A colorless gas, a colorless odorless gas. So what you have to mention? You have to mention the characteristic along with the test for that particular gas. A colorless odorless gas is evolved. When this gas has been passed through alkaline pyrogalol solution, the pyrogalol solution will turn to brown. So this is the way you have to answer these type of questions. Even if you identify the product, well and good. That is a yellow residue of lead oxide has been formed along with a reddish brown gas of nitrogen dioxide. You are identifying the product, well and good. Even if you are not identifying the product, you simply mention their observation, it's fine. That is, you have to mention the observation, that is very much necessary. And a colorless, odorless gas has been evolved. Then here there is a test for nitrogen dioxide gas also, that is the ferrous sulfate solution. It also changes the color from green to brown. So all these tests, one day I will do one thing, I will give you all the tests for all these gases. So what you will be doing, you need not by heart for a particular equation, you just learn all the tests for all these gases separately. So in any reaction, whichever gas is evolved, you should be knowing those chemical tests. So here, I hope it's clear. That is lead nitrate, when it is heated, it is forming a yellow residue of lead oxide along with the reddish brown gas of nitrogen dioxide, and a colorless, odorless gas that has been evolved, which will turn the alkaline pyrogalol solution brown. You can also mention the test for nitrogen dioxide. Okay, we proceed further. The next condition. That is light. So this was our fourth condition, that is certain reactions, they take place only in presence of light. And you all are familiar with that particular example. You all know what is that reaction which takes place in the presence of light. Obviously the photosynthesis reaction. So what happens, that is, let me just first write down the reaction, that is 6CO2 So the example of this type of reaction is 6CO2 plus 6H2O forming C6H12O6 plus 6O2. Okay, so that is 6 molecules of carbon dioxide reacts with 6 molecules of water forming 1 molecule of glucose and 6 molecules of oxygen. So this reaction takes place in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. We are not very much bothered about chlorophyll over here, but these are the two conditions. We are basically dealing with the light. That is, certain reactions takes place only in the presence of light energy leading to the formation of the product. So this product that has been formed is what? Which product is this? That is glucose. Now what is glucose? Glucose is a food for the plants. That is, the plants manufacture their food, that is glucose. How do they manufacture? By the help of carbon dioxide and water vapor and sunlight and chlorophyll, they manufacture glucose and this oxygen that has also been given out. That is why it is good for us to have plants in our house, because plants give us oxygen, which is good for our environment. So what happens in presence of light? These chemical substances, they activate. So basically they activate, and when they activate, they react with each other leading to the formation of the products. So this is what happens when they are reacting. Next, one more example that I give you, which I gave you some time back also, it is hydrogen and chlorine. They react in presence of sunlight to form hydrochloric acid over here. So hydrogen and chlorine react in presence of sunlight to form the hydrochloric acid over here. Then similarly, AgNO3 in presence of the sunlight, it will decompose 2Ag plus it will be forming 2NO2 plus O2. So this will be what? 2Ag, so this will be 2Ag. So what happens, that is, in presence of sunlight, this silver nitrate, it decomposes to form silver, nitrogen dioxide and oxygen. So these another reaction of the same type, that is hydrogen peroxide H2O2 in presence of sunlight, it will decompose forming H2O plus O2. So 2 2s are 4, so this will be 2. So for these reasons, that is, these two compounds, that is silver nitrate and hydrogen peroxide, they are always stored in amber colored bottle. Amber colored bottles. Now what do you mean by amber colored bottles? Those bottles which are very dark in color, no, brown color, blue color, all those type of bottles, those are called as the amber colored bottles. So because the color of the bottle is so dark, what will happen? That sunlight will not enter. And as the sunlight will not enter, decomposition will not take place. Because these compounds, they have got the tendency to decompose in presence of sunlight. And we don't want these substances to be decomposing, to be breaking up, forming these products. Once they have been decomposed, they become useless. So this two compound, this can be asked as a give reason. These are very important part of the chapter. It can be asked as a give reason why silver nitrate and hydrogen peroxide, they are stored in amber colored bottles or dark colored bottles, because they react in presence of sunlight, they decompose forming silver, nitrogen dioxide and oxygen. In this particular case, it is forming water and oxygen. One more thing that I am telling you, that is hydrogen and chlorine, it is also reacting in presence of sunlight to form hydrochloric acid. Now suppose you need to know the difference between hydrochloric acid and hydrogen chloride. When we are writing down simply HCl, that is called as the hydrochloric acid. But when we are writing down G in bracket, that means what? It is hydrogen chloride. So don't get confused, students. Whenever that G is coming, that means that HCl is in the gaseous form. And when it is in the gaseous form, that is not hydrochloric acid, that is hydrochloric acid mixed in water. I repeat once again, HCl simply, that is what? Hydrochloric acid. HCl is what? Hydrochloric acid, that is in the liquid form. And when we are saying HClG, so that is what? Hydrogen chloride gas. Now how do we get this? When hydrogen chloride gas is mixed in water. So when hydrogen chloride gas is mixed in water, then we get this HCl, that is hydrochloric acid. Is it clear? Hydrogen chloride gas. First we prepare hydrogen chloride gas in the laboratory. When this hydrogen chloride gas, we are mixing it in water, we are getting hydrochloric acid. So don't get confused. This is in the gaseous form and this is in the liquid form. Is it clear? So next condition, that is electricity. That is, certain compounds or certain substances, they require electricity. A very good example of this is what? Breaking up of water molecules. In water, when we are passing electric current, it breaks up, forming hydrogen and oxygen. Now this reaction is also called as photolysis, or it is also called as electrolysis. Sorry, I made a mistake. This is called as the electrolysis because it is taking place in presence of electric current, and this reaction which is present and which is taking place in presence of light, this is called as photolysis. So look here, that is this reaction, that is where the reaction which takes place by passing of an electric current. Those type of reactions we call them as a electrolysis. Like a very good example is of water. That is, water, it undergoes the process of electrolysis leading to the formation of hydrogen and oxygen, and the reactions which takes place in presence of light, we call those reactions a photolysis reaction. Then next condition is what? Pressure. Certain reactions, it take place in the presence of pressure only. That is, nitrogen and hydrogen. So the pressure required over is above 200. Above 200 atmosphere. So look here, this is N2, this is 3 to the 6. So nitrogen reacts with hydrogen in a in a condition of the pressure above 200 atmosphere. Then only this ammonia will be formed, and this process by which this ammonia is formed, that is called as the Haber's process. Very important reaction, you will be having again in class and in detail. So see that you study it carefully. It's a very important reaction, extremely important, asked in exam several times. So such reactions, that is, they require the pressure. Pressure has to be supplied for the reaction to take place, and one of the example is the Haber's process, where nitrogen reacts with hydrogen in presence of the atmospheric pressure of about in presence of the pressure, there is 200 atmospheric pressure, leading to the formation of ammonia. Next condition. This was about, as far as I remember, this is your 6th point of the 6th condition, that is the catalyst. Now what are catalysts? What are catalysts? Now all the reactions, they do not require catalyst, but certain reactions, certain reactants, they require the presence of the catalyst. Now catalysts are the chemical substances which either will increase the rate of a chemical reaction or will decrease the rate of a chemical reaction, and they themselves will not take part into the chemical reaction. Now such substances which either accelerate or decelerate the rate of a chemical reaction without themselves taking part into the chemical reaction, those substances we call them as the catalyst. Now your doubt may be, we always want the chemical reaction to be accelerated. Why decelerate? Now certain reactions which are explosive, which are dangerous, or sometimes the reaction becomes uncontrolled, then also we want to decrease the rate of the chemical reaction, and we need to use the negative catalyst over there. The substances which will decelerate or will decrease the rate of the chemical reaction. So catalysts are the chemical substances which accelerate or decelerate the rate of or decelerate the rate of chemical reaction without taking part into them, without taking part into them. Now let me give you some examples. That is potassium chlorate, KClO3, in presence of MnO2, it will form 2KCl plus 3O2. So 2KClO3, let me check, yes, 2Cl, 3 to the 6, so here. So potassium chlorate, now this reaction, why do we decompose potassium chlorate? Potassium chlorate, we are using this reaction for manufacturing or for getting production of this oxygen. So from potassium chlorate we get oxygen. So preparing oxygen, when we need to prepare oxygen, we carry out this reaction. Now decomposition, that means breaking up potassium chlorate to form potassium chloride and oxygen. It takes place at a temperature of about 700 degrees Celsius, which is a very high temperature. The process takes place slowly. So what do? We use a chemical substance, that is manganese dioxide. This manganese dioxide will increase the rate of chemical reaction, and the reaction will take place at 300 degrees Celsius instead of 700 degrees Celsius. So at a much lower temperature we get our required product. So this is what one catalyst, that is one positive catalyst. So what do we, I give you another example, that is 4NH3 plus 5O2 gives 4NO plus 6H2O. So this reaction, it takes place in presence of platinum at a temperature of 800 degrees Celsius. Now this reaction is also very, very important. Asked several times in your examination. It is so important. I have been checking it several number of times that I don't even need to balance the reaction. I remember, by checking it so many number of times, I just remember that the ratio is 4, 5, 4, 6. There's 4NH3 plus 5O2 gives 4NO plus 6H2. I don't even need to balance it. It's such an important reaction, very important reaction. Don't leave these equations. These are extremely important reactions. Then, so here we are in these chemical substances, they are increasing the rate of the reaction. Any type of a catalyst which will increase the rate of a chemical reaction, those are called as the positive catalyst. Positive catalyst. And chemical substances or the catalyst which decreases the rate of a chemical reaction is the negative catalyst. Negative catalyst. Let me give you some examples of the positive catalyst. That is hydrogen peroxide, H2O2. It will decompose in presence of, it will decompose into water and oxygen in presence of MnO2. So here this will be 2, let me check, 2 plus 4, this is 2, so this will be 2. Okay, oxygen 4, here oxygen is 2, 2. So it is a balanced equation. So here MnO2, which is helping this decomposition, which will make the reaction faster. That is, hydrogen peroxide decomposes faster in presence of manganese dioxide. So this manganese dioxide is acting as a positive catalyst over here. But at the same time, if the same reaction we are carrying out in presence of phosphoric acid, that is instead of MnO2, that is the same reaction, look here, H2O2, if we are carrying it out in presence of H3PO4, this also will give the product, that is H2O plus O2, but the rate of reaction decreases. Reaction rate decreases. So we can say rate of reaction decreases. So this is what? This is a negative catalyst. Negative catalyst. Whereas this MnO2, which is increasing the rate of a chemical reaction, this is called as a positive catalyst because it is increasing the rate of a chemical reaction. So with catalyst, this is one thing. One more important thing with respect to catalyst, it's better I'll rub this particular part. are certain substances which increases the efficiency of catalyst. Substances which increases the efficiency of catalyst. Such substances are called as promoters. Now look here, I'll give you an example of a promoter, that is N2 plus 3H2. There is a Haber's process. It is forming 2NH3, that is ammonia. So here we are using iron as a catalyst and molybdenum is used as a promoter. So first of all, catalyst is something which itself is increasing the rate of a chemical reaction, and certain substances which also increases the efficiency of the catalyst. Catalysts are increasing the efficiency of the reaction, we can say that. And the substances which are increasing the efficiency of the catalyst, those substances we call them as the promoters. So a very good example of this is nitrogen and hydrogen reacting together to form ammonia in the Haber's process, where we are using iron as a catalyst. This is a catalyst, and this is molybdenum is a promoter. Clear? Is it okay, students? That is, certain reactions requires only catalyst, but there are certain reactions which require both catalyst also and promoters also. Next, I gave you an example of the positive catalyst. Let me give, and I also gave you one example of the negative catalyst. Let's come to the next condition. That is sound energy. That is, certain reactions, they takes place by absorption of sound energy. Such reactions, these are the exceptional reactions. There is a reaction which takes place by absorption of the sound energy, that is acetylene. It decomposes or breaks up into carbon and hydrogen. So this will be 2 over here. So this reaction takes place in presence of sound energy. So these are certain very rare chemical reactions, but although they are there, it's a part that we have to study. So these are certain conditions which are required for a chemical reaction to take place. I recapitulated once, that is mixing, solution form, the substance should be in the solution form, then heat is required, electricity is required, pressure is required, catalysts are required, where the catalyst may be positive catalyst, sometimes the negative catalysts are required. Then sometimes along with the catalyst we also need the promoters. Then certain reactions takes place in presence of the sound energy. So these are then pressure is also required for some of the reactions. So these are certain conditions required for a chemical reaction. Now whenever a chemical reaction takes place, something happens. Something that you can see when a chemical reaction takes place. So there are certain characteristics, certain changes takes place when a reaction takes place. So characteristics of a chemical reaction. Characteristics of chemical reactions. That is, when the reactions takes place, they are accompanied by certain changes. Those changes you will be able to see sometimes. Sometimes you may not be able to see because the changes will be very, very small, negligible. It may be difficult for you to identify, and sometimes the changes are so appreciable that you will be able to see those changes. Now, so certain phenomenon takes place, certain things takes place, certain characteristics we can say that is whatever that you can observe when a chemical reaction takes place. Now let's come to those characteristics of a chemical reaction. So first of all, evolution of a gas. Evolution of a gas. Let me give an example, then this will become more clear to you. That is, zinc reacts with sulfuric acid, forming zinc sulfate. and hydrogen. So when zinc is reacting with sulfuric acid, zinc sulfate has been formed along with the evolution of hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas has been evolved. So this will be given off in the form of effervescence. Now you may ask me, what is effervescence? The gas bubbles which are formed. Gas bubbles which are formed, that is called as the effervescence. You means when you buy those cold drink bottles, no? When you open that cold drink bottle, you can see those gas bubbles. So that is called as the effervescence. So in this case also hydrogen gas that has been evolved. Now whenever any gas that has been formed has been evolved, we have to represent it with an upward arrow. So an effervescence, that is evolution of a gas in the form of an effervescence. Gas bubbles are being formed. This is one of the characteristics. Then next is change of color. Change of color. When a reaction takes place, there may be change in color of the substances. For example, let me give you an example, that is Fe plus CuSO4 leading to the formation of FeSO4 plus Cu. Now this Fe is what? It's silvery grey color. This is blue colored solution, blue color solution, and this ferrous sulfate which has been formed, this is a green colored solution, green color solution, and this is what? Reddish brown deposit, reddish brown deposit. So look here, there is a change of color, isn't it? Iron which is silvery grey in color, copper sulfate which is blue colored solution. When you are making it in this, it's actually blue colored crystals, and when you make a solution, it will be a blue colored, it will transfer into a blue colored solution. Now when both of them they are reacting, instead of, it is neither silvery grey nor blue color, but you are getting a green colored solution. And at the bottom of the container, that is if you are adding these substances into a beaker, look here, that is, you take a beaker containing copper sulfate solution. Let me draw it big, slightly big. This is your blue colored copper sulfate solution. I am writing down in short over here, which is blue in color. And you are adding some iron over here, that is Fe, which is silvery grey or grey you can say. Okay. Now as it has been added, you will find that this whole solution after the reaction, this whole solution will turn to green color solution. And at the bottom here, some deposit will be obtained. And now this deposit is of what? This will be reddish brown deposit. That reddish brown deposit is of what? That is of copper. That reddish brown deposit of copper. In your book you may see that the color has been given as red. But copper is never totally red. Red is a totally different color. It's not red, but it's reddish brown. So you make it a habit that in the examination you will be using the word reddish brown, not red color. Copper is not totally red. It's not that bridal red color. It's a reddish brown deposit. It's a reddish brown color. Copper is reddish brown color. So all of you make the changes in your book. If it has been written, I have seen that in many of the books the color of the copper has been written as red color. Make changes in your book. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you people to get the marks. Very, very important reactions. Okay, so there may be a change in the color which may be observed. Now what is the third condition? That is the third characteristic. I am just rubbing off from here. Third characteristic, that is formation of precipitate. Certain reactions, when they take place, they may lead to the formation of a precipitate. Now what is a precipitate? What is a precipitate? First let us understand what is a precipitate. The insoluble solid that is formed. A solid has been formed and that solid will not be soluble into the liquid. That insoluble substance that has been formed, that is called as the precipitate. You can use the word short form, that is PPT. It's allowed. It's nothing wrong. You can use the short form, or instead of the precipitate you can use the word PPT for the precipitate. So let me give you an example. That is AgNO3. AgNO3 will react with NaCl. What will be formed? You tell me. A white precipitate of silver chloride will be formed. That is AgCl plus NaNO3. And precipitate we represent it with a downward arrow. Downward arrow means precipitate. Either you show it with a downward arrow or you write down that is white PPT over here. Very, very important. Very important. I mark you very well. This can be asked on an observation based question. That is what happens when silver nitrate reacts with sodium chloride. When silver nitrate reacts with sodium chloride, we get a white precipitate of silver chloride. If you don't mention this word, white as well as precipitate, both of them are the key words. You will not be getting any marks if you are not mentioning this. Extremely important. Next, let me give you another example. That is ferrous sulfate. Ferrous sulfate, when it is made to react with sodium hydroxide, it will be forming FeOH twice plus Na2SO4, sodium sulfate. Now this is 2, so this will be 2 over here. This is 2, Na is 2, so the equation has been balanced. Now ferrous sulfate, this is green in color. Green color. Ferrous sulfate is green in color, green colored crystal. When you mix it in water, the solution will be green colored solution will be formed. Sodium hydroxide is colorless, and we are getting ferrous hydroxide, which is a dirty green precipitate. Dirty green precipitate. Extremely important reaction. Again, you will be having it in your class 10 also. And this color of the precipitate is extremely important. Another thing, very important thing, let me tell you. Iron's valency is plus 2 over here. Isn't it? See, iron plus 2 valency, sulfate's valency is plus 2. Iron, whenever iron is reacting, so iron when it is in the plus 2 state, it is reacting with sodium hydroxide, the compound that has been formed. This also should be 2 over here because iron's valency was 2 over here. So this compound which has been formed over here, this will also be 2 over here. You cannot write down FeOH thrice. If you do that, that will be completely wrong. Iron's valency was 2 over here. So the compound which has been formed, this will also be 2 over here. You are getting ferrous hydroxide, not ferric. If you are not clear with ferrous and ferric, you go back to my previous video of chapter 1, the things will become very clear. So it is forming ferrous hydroxide, which is a dirty green precipitate, along with sodium sulfate, which is again colorless. Extremely important. Don't skip this question, this particular part. Either it may be asked as balance the following equations, or it may be asked as write down the chemical reaction between ferrous sulfate and sodium hydroxide, or it can be asked as an observation based question. Next and the last point, let me finish it fast, that is change of state. Change of state. That is the substances, the state of the substances may change. That is NH3 in the gaseous state, it reacts with that is your HCl. That is also in the gaseous state. It's a reversible reaction leading to the formation of ammonium chloride, which is in the solid state. So ammonia in the gaseous state reacts with hydrogen chloride in the gaseous state, and a compound that has been formed, white colored compound that has been formed, white solid. These two gases are reacting, leading to the formation of a white solid, which is ammonium chloride. A change of state has been taken place. So with this, we have completed the characters, that is the conditions required for the chemical reactions and the characteristics of the chemical reactions. See that you go through this particular part, read your textbook, and if you have any doubt, you may ask later. Thank you, students. Take care. Bye.